Hi guys, welcome back to our channel ThinkerThemer. Today I'm trying something completely new. I was thinking recently about the number of Kickstarters that I'm backing, which is a lot, but also more than that, the number of hours that I put into reading about Kickstarters, the forums that I follow. I'm on Reddit, always reading everything. I'm looking at videos about upcoming Kickstarters for the month and things that are ending soon, pledge managers that are opening last minute, all of those types of things. And I am a researcher. That's what I do for work. And but I was thinking about for all of those people out there who just research isn't your thing, or you simply don't have the number of hours to put into it that I do, creating maybe a curated list of Kickstarters that I'm backing each week to not cover off everything that's launching on Kickstarter, because there are so much and there are so many, YouTube channels and things that you can read that cover off everything, but really to give you my opinion about what I think is worth backing this week, or what's of interest to Maggie and I in particular. And you can get to know Maggie and I a bit better throughout that process as well. I think that when I'm backing Kickstarters, I do it for two reasons. The first reason is to get things a little bit earlier. I mean, we're based in Australia. We get things a little bit later in retail as it is. So usually that gives me a unique opportunity to try the game alongside the rest of the world. But the other reason is Kickstarter exclusives. I love them. Can't get enough of them. And I know people feel a bit funny about that, but I'm a completionist, and I'm as much of a collector as I am a gamer. And so I like to have a blinged out version of the game. I love the deluxe versions of games. And so obviously you can only get those on Kickstarter. And so that's what I'm looking for, those things that bring great table presence, that really help get people into games, because ultimately that's what I want to do. I want everybody to be involved in games all the time. So yeah, when I'm evaluating Kickstarters on this channel, I don't intend to talk about the value, because we are in Australia, the exchange rate's different, the shipping is different, but also it's not necessarily the main factor for me. It's more about whether I think I'm going to get it to the table. So Maggie and I are quite heavy gamers, but then thinking about what other games are going to get people into games, our more casual gaming groups, anything that's really caught my eye on Kickstarter, I'll be including in this channel. So why don't we get straight into it with what I've been backing and what I'm interested in this week. So let me share my screen with you. And the first game that I want to talk about this week is Cascadia. This has been a long time coming. It is a spiritual sequel to Calico. It's not actually a sequel, but it is a similar game. Calico was also by Flat Out Games, the publisher, and this game is also illustrated by Beth Sobel, and Calico was a beautiful game. And I might just jump over to what Flat Out Games have been up to recently, because this is Calico. We did a review on Calico, so I'll place a link to that review here. And in that review, you will find out that we absolutely love this game. In fact, in all the years I've been supporting Kickstarter projects, this is probably one of my all-time favorites, because I just wasn't expecting so much brain burn and challenge in the puzzle that was putting a quilt together to attract cats. A strange concept that I didn't think was going to be appealing to me, but I really, really love this game. And for that reason, that's why Cascadia was an instant back for me. The group at Flat Out Games are also responsible for Point Salad that we love. And I was listening yesterday actually to a recent podcast by The Dice Tower with Mandy and Suzanne, who I love. And they were talking about Truffle Shuffle, this game here, which apparently is quite similar in its simplicity to Point Salad and also quite enjoyable. So Flat Out Games are putting out some amazing games at the moment. This game, Cascadia, you can see that Rado says he was absolutely blown away by it, and one of his early odds on favorite for 2021. That is a huge call. One of the Well, the favorite, probably my most anticipated video of the month on YouTube is Rado's countdown of the games that he's played during the month. Because as you know, if you're familiar with Rado's reviews, he tends to only review games he likes, and therefore he's always generally quite positive, and so it's hard to tell how absolutely good a game is. But in this case, he ranked it very highly amongst other games. And so, that was a further endorsement, even though I was completely in on this. The other great thing is that the publishers have had a lot of reviewers do early playthroughs for this game. And what I think is really interesting is that the whole underlying premise is that you're drafting tiles, but you have to draft tiles in pairs. So you're drafting a terrain tile, but also an animal tile, and you can't pick and choose which combo you select. You have to take both. And so that means you're making a trade-off between a tile that you want and potentially a tile you don't want to make suboptimal placements. And I can very much see that in this game, you would also be conscious of objectives that your fellow opponents are making. And there would be a bit of hate drafting as well. And yes, we all know that it would probably be me hate drafting Maggie, poor Maggie. And it just seems like a really simple concept to teach people, but that it would have a lot of depth and replayability. So I'm super excited about this. They had a founders edition in the Kickstarter, which was to get one of their review copies, but because of the time difference in Australia, it's not the case that we can sit up and wait for a Kickstarter to launch at 2 a.m. I mean, I could, but I'm not that dedicated. So as soon as I woke up with my coffee in hand in the morning, this was the first thing I did, was to back this game on Wednesday morning in Australia from the future. The next game that was an instant back for me this week was Embarcadero, which I am not saying nicely. Embarcadero. It's quite difficult for me to say, but it means port. Maggie informs me it means port in Spanish, and that's because you're in San Francisco and you are working on a port and putting buildings and collecting ships, and this is a beautiful game. In fact, the reason why it was such an instant back for me was that I had seen it on reviewers' tables. Particularly Shay from Rado's channel had put out quite a positive review of this one, and the gameplay was quite interesting. He was quite excited about it, which made me excited about it. And there's some exclusive Kickstarter content, so you can see that with the Kickstarter exclusive expansion, it increases the player count from 4 to 5, and that's always useful because sometimes you do have a fifth player, sorry. The other thing is that this game is by Renegade Game Studios, so there's lower inherent risk in backing this because it's coming from a known studio who are almost guaranteed to deliver against the promises that they're making in this campaign. But yeah, the table presence, it comes with all of these plastic structures. So the buildings themselves are these physical buildings, and then they sit and get layered on these building tiles. And that just looks really cool, especially when combined with this beautiful game board. I mean, it just looks absolutely stunning. And yeah, this is one that I really can't wait to get out on the table. So yeah, this was an instant back for me. The other thing is that the gameplay doesn't look too complex. It feels quite familiar. There's building cards, ship cards, landmark cards, and you are drafting those cards. It seems like you draft them and add them to your player board, and then you can also expend those cards to take actions. And those are some familiar mechanics. That means that it's going to have great table presence, but it's also going to be relatively easy to get our heads around and to teach to other people. So I'm really excited about this game. Now, those are the two games that I just flat out backed straight away, pretty much without even looking at the campaign, because I had anticipated them so much. Another game that has caught my eye is In Too Deep. Now, In Too Deep, this is the second time they've launched their campaign. The first time around, they got a bit of criticism around not being able to understand how the gameplay how it plays out. And this time around, they've done a much better job of that. And there have been lots of reviewers that have had a copy of the game, which obviously allows people to get a lot more insight into the interesting and unique mechanisms that are going on here. In Too Deep, it's interesting in that it's almost semi-cooperative, because as a team, you are trying to crack the case and you're trying to take these criminals, which no one plays as one criminal. I think you all control all of the criminals, but you're trying to set them up in a way that gives you evidence about the case. And what's interesting about this game is the reason why it's called In Too Deep is because along the way you are going to be tempted by individual gains. So there are going to be rewards that you alone benefit from, and if you take those rewards too often, then you will become in too deep, and essentially you become one of the enemy. And I love that premise. I think that's really interesting, and to use this moral compass to kind of play out the rest of the game. People have also commented about how much gameplay there is here because of the fact that you piece together the board, which is this like rondel here. You piece it together with all individual slices, which gives you, almost infinite number of possibilities. So the game is always different. But for Maggie and I think what's stopping me backing this game is the sci-fi vibe that it has, or the sci-fi theme is not really our thing, and it's not really it's not really what our gamers in our groups enjoy either. So I'm struggling with that a little bit. I think that if I was to go in, it would be, of course, not for the retail version, but for the deluxe version, because that's why I back Kickstarters, to get all those delicious exclusives. But this is all retail. But once you get to the deluxe version, you can see that there are miniatures. Again, sci-fi theme is not really my thing, but the miniatures are quite interesting here. I think the most interesting thing is these custom bases that you get. You get one for each criminal. But what's really cool about them is when that criminal picks up an item, it gets slotted into that base. So that's really unique and really cool. And one of those gimmicks that might almost lead me to click that back this project button. But anyway, stay tuned. I'll probably end up backing it. And then the next two Kickstarters that I want to talk about are what I like to call alter ego Amy Kickstarters, or Amy on a different timeline. If I was into different games, I'd probably be pretty interested in these two. They're just not for us. But the first one is Flourish, and Flourish is by the same designers as Everdell, and it is equally beautiful. Everdell is a stunning game, and so is this. I look at the artwork here, and it just is gorgeous, and you can see all of the flowers and all of the kind of outdoor elements. They're just beautifully illustrated, and then you've got these 3D walls which are really cool. But what I love the most is this expansion, this Follies expansion that has all these little buildings that get added to the board, which I just think this has such a table presence. It would be it would look amazing. The reason why I'm not backing this game is because the publishers themselves say, and also the reviews say, that this is a very simple, straightforward game. It's very light, probably an entry level kind of game. I know that just won't get any time on our table. We like more complex games, but I think if you're after something simple and beautiful, this looks like quite a stunning game, and at $39 for the signature edition seems like quite good value as well. And then moving on to Monsters on Board, I only became aware of this game this week, and I became aware of it through Rado and his rankings, and saying that this was a game that he really enjoyed playing with his wife. For us, the theme will mean that we don't pick up this game. It's a little bit, fantasy and a bit childish in terms of our personal taste. But I did want to show this because I think it looks really cool in that, similar to like the Sushi Go, where you're kind of drafting and passing to the person next to you with it, you know, it has the little conveyor belts. There's a little car, so you're drafting die and then you put them in this little car and then the car gets pushed around to the next person and you can see the little car here, and that is super cute. Almost to the point where I just want to back it just to play with that, but I will withhold because I've got many more games to back, but this is one that would be interesting to check out. For me, it's a pass. I'll probably, oh yeah, and there's miniatures as well. So you get in the deluxe version, there's these miniatures. And now that I'm painting, that's a little bit more tempting. But I think, no, I will wait until retail. If it gets good reviews, it might be something that I pick up later on. Now, the next game is one that is upcoming for next week. So I also wanted to, in this video series, talk about what's coming up next week so that, you know, you can mentally prepare. And by mentally prepare, I mean get your wallet ready because this next game, the Seventh Citadel. Now, I think you would have to be living under a rock if you haven't heard of the predecessor of this game, The Seventh Continent. It is very highly rated. It came out in 2017, but not just, it was super popular at the time on Kickstarter, but actually I think its popularity was even more so after the Kickstarter. So once people got their hands on it and started rating it really well, you know, it became so in demand that the prices in the aftermarket, you know, aftermarket gaming was just incredible. It was so expensive, and for that reason it became kind of like a hotness, notorious game for, you know, people overpaying for the game essentially. But with this relaunch, it's not a sequel, but it's going to be similar gameplay from what I understand. It is cooperative and solo gaming experience. I'm not into solo gaming, but Maggie very much is, and so I'll probably definitely pick up this game. Likewise, neither of us enjoy cooperative games, but because this seems like, you know, it comes from such a strong community who really love like Seventh Continent, I think the game play itself sounds interesting. I'm interested to explore the mechanics of the game and how it kind of surprises you. You don't know what's coming up as you kind of explore this universe that they're creating. So I am going to be all in on this. I've already decided that I don't want to miss out again. I will be checking this out. And you can see that here, there's almost 13,000 people that simply want to be notified on launch of this game. So this is going to be huge. I think this might be one of the big games of the year that people are anticipating and that people are going to jump on board with immediately. So that is coming out next Tuesday, the 22nd of September, just a few days away. The next game that is coming out next week is Dinosaur World and Dinosaur Island Roar and Write, which it must be a roll and write, and it's a really cute name, Roar and Write. But I actually haven't played the original Dinosaur Island, or I think it's Dualosaur Island. I haven't played either of those, but Pandasaurus games are, you know, well loved, and these games are well loved. So I will definitely be checking out the Kickstarter next week. And, you know, if you're into that series of games, you should also have that on your radar. And the next couple of Kickstarters are just things that I've come across this week in particular that are now on my radar, and I wanted to share them with you. The first one is Crash Octopus, a game coming out of Japan. It's a dexterity game. It's a flicking game, which isn't normally my thing, but look how cute it is. I don't know what kind of scale that would be, how big that would be, but it's just so adorable. I really love that, and I just can't wait to see like how that game plays out. Actually, the publisher is quite well known in Japan, and last year when we were at the Japanese game market, Tokyo Highway was everywhere and it was on tables, and it just had such table presence and everyone was having so much fun with it. And I imagine that's what they're going for with Crash Octopus, that, you know, bringing people to the table just to see what's going on. So I'm excited about that. And then I came across this little project that I had never heard of before, and I just happened to stumble upon it on Kickstarter. It's called the Astral Logic Trilogy. It's a trilogy of, as they say here, big box euros. So Warhound, Dragon Brood, and Shaman. And you can see that each of these games, to me, they look like big, thinky euros, and that is right up our alley. And so I'm super excited to find out more about this. However, I haven't heard of the creator. I'm not sure about the publisher, the designer. I don't really know anything about it at all except for what you can see here. And I have no idea when it's launching, but I'm excited about it and I can't wait to see what they have to share, particularly with launching with 3 big euros. I mean, that's, it's hard enough to make 1 big euro. So I'm really excited to see what they do with that. And now the final project that I wanted to share with you today is a interesting one. It is called Tiny Tree Houses. It's not gaming related. It's not even gaming adjacent. But how cute is this tiny tree house? And, I have a thing for miniature versions of things. So like if it's like tiny food or tiny buildings, like I love that. I'm currently working on a little Japanese house that we bought in Japan. But anyway, this really caught my eye because they're little tree houses that you can put in your pot plants around the house. Gorgeous. And then I started looking into this and I was really excited about it. And then I realized that it's an Australian project as well. So of course I was even more excited about that. But these houses come flat packed, and then I believe you only need a bit of glue to put them together, and probably a bit of patience. And they all come with LED lighting and they just look amazing. I am so excited about this. You can also have them just standalone, so they don't have to be in a plant. I could imagine that they'll also go nicely on the Christmas tree and things, and probably would be a nice activity to get the family together. We've been doing more and more of that during lockdown. So yeah, I'm really excited by this. I haven't backed it yet mainly because I just can't decide how many of them I want and which designs, but otherwise super excited. So yeah, that is the final project that I wanted to share with you today. I would love if you have any feedback on this video. It's just a concept that I'm trying out. Like I said, I'm so in the world of Kickstarter every week that I would love to do this video once a week with you and share what I'm backing and what's upcoming. Please let us know, subscribe to our channel, and you'll be notified of alerts of videos like these as well as our review videos. But that's it for now. So I'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.